CB repping us at that game.
And yeah, so I'm happy for Penn State, and I hope they do move on. I hope they become the team that they were a couple years ago when they were killing it, making Rose Bowls, just having a good time out there.
All right,
I
Nick.
think they can. Christian Hackenberg is good. So
All right, Nick. Was this a good move? Did they deserve
yeah, I
to
think it was.
limit it?
I think it was. I think I agree with Matt. Snowball. I don't know what to call you. I never met you before until now.
Okay.
Snowball?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. I agree with Snowball here because, it's forgiveness, and that's good. And it really gives, I doubt this isn't why they did it, but I'm happy because it gives Christian Hackenberg a level to play to his true potential in the NCAA. He can have the chance of going to playoffs. He can do well, and he's doing well.
My problem with this whole thing was I think Penn State was punishing the wrong people in the first place because all the executives were gone, or most of them were gone. Joe Paterno was gone. Jerry Sandusky was long gone. So I don't understand who you were punishing because the main thing was Joe Paterno. He got fired. He was the main cover-up. I guess the athletic director was part of it.
Yeah, Jerry Sandusky.
You're punishing the wrong guys. I don't think these guys deserved it in the first place. So a great move by the NCAA. I don't typically support them, but I like it in this case. And our friend Brendan just pointed out that a couple of nights after the NCAA lifted some of the sanctions, students at Penn State were chanting, "Where's the statue?" Because I think this is basically, and Jay Paterno came out the day of, and said this is just the NCAA covering up their mistakes, and stuff like that, which I think it is. They were discussing the death penalty when this news came out, so good move by the NCAA for once. I'm totally in support of it. So we're just keeping on with the sanctions and suspensions. Chris Davis of the Orioles, 25-game suspension for amphetamines. Matt, what are the Orioles gonna do without Chris Davis?
Well, Chris Davis, he really hasn't been the biggest impact on that team this year. I mean, I think people are still thinking of the Chris Davis we saw last year, where he led the league in home runs. I mean, this year, Chris Davis, he's done good. Don't get me wrong, but he's not the Chris Davis that we all knew and loved last year. I'll tell you his stats. It really is kind of appalling how much he's dropped. Last year it was 286, 53 home runs, 138 RBIs. This year, batting 196, so dropping almost 100 points. 100 points, yeah. 26 home runs, which is a good amount, and 72 RBIs. So, his hitting, it's either a home run or strikeout or out kind of guy. So, I think the Orioles they'll miss him, but not too much. And they'll move on. They'll still win the East. They got that no problem. And I'm not really sure what's going on in the postseason now, especially in the AL. I had the A's going all the way. And
yeah, I think we all do.
Has been, I'm shocked. It's as if the trades that they made the team worse, and it was supposed to make the team that much better. And what's happening with the Angels? Their team got worse when they lost. It was supposed to be worse when they lost Garrett Richards, and they've gotten better. So I'm confused with this, just as probably everyone else is. Why this is happening? I have no idea. I don't think anyone else does. But anyway, going back to Chris Davis, they'll be fine. Orioles, they'll figure something out. They'll make postseason, but I just don't know how far they'll go. But I don't think Chris Davis will make the biggest impact.
Yeah, he dropped over his average dropped over 100 points. Like you said, I guess he really needed the amphetamines.
Yeah. We knew he was doing something. There's no way. if you look at the stats before when he was on the Rangers, you knew something was going up.
I think that's anytime some guy who's not normally in the chase leads the league in home runs, Jose Bautista, Chris Davis.
Okay, but you're telling me the guy that was hitting 1 home run in 45 games, 2 home runs in 30 games, 3 in 30 games,
Yeah.
5 in total when he was on the Orioles and Rangers in 2011. 2012 did good. 2012, something happened. He had 33 home runs, and then it went to 53.
So someone had to
You
talk
don't
with
go
Tony
from
Bosch.
5 to 33 like that, unless, Bautista too. But I can never prove Bautista because Bautista hasn't changed in size. I gotta look at Chris Davis back when he was in 2011, but something clearly was going on there.
We are going to launch an investigation on Chris Davis. We will report the results next week.
I mean, he's
Don't you
getting
guys worry.
he's got the power release Castillo in 2011, and then hits 30 home runs. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
No,
I think.
I think we all saw this coming.
Yeah. I
saw this as like PEDs or something, drugs. Nothing.
I traded for him on my fantasy team this year in the first month, and that was such a bad move because he was doing decently, and then he just got destroyed. He just was horrible. I'm pretty sure he's been hitting below the Mendoza line for 2 months now, but that's just a guess. Basically,
He's been irrelevant all year, I think.
I think that the Orioles are going to keep doing what they're doing. They're going to keep on winning. They probably won't do that well in the playoffs because the Angels are so good, and the A's, if they're going to be the wild card, then they'll have a resurgence, I think. But I think that the Orioles are definitely good enough with the way Chris Davis was playing. I think that they're still going to the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think the Orioles will have any problem. Winning the East, obviously, that's in the bag. Playoffs shouldn't even be too much of a problem. Like you guys said, Chris Davis has been pretty irrelevant this year. I'm thinking, though, side note, if we're thinking that he kind of ran out of juice. I'm not sure if the actual juice this year. Could it be possible that he was actually linked to Tony Bosch, since this is, around the time that he got caught and turned himself in? You think that's a possibility?
Not sure.
Again, we're launching a full investigation. We'll get back to you all you guys next week. Big shout out to Nick Blondell tonight for helping us out. So we'll definitely talk to you later. Thanks for all your help.
Guys. Good to see you. Bye.
Alright, so that pretty much wraps up Nick and Nick. We're back to Jersey Boy Sports Talk.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Nick Bogatis and Matt Stolboff. We're taking over now. We promise this is the last of the bad news for today. Danny Ferry, Hawks former, well, I shouldn't say, he's currently the GM.
Yeah, he's still a GM.
Taking a leave of absence after his so-called racial comments in a conference call regarding Luol Deng. I'm trying to see the exact quote from him here. He was talking about Luol Deng in a conference call that was recorded with Hawks ownership, and he described Deng as a player who, quote, has a little African in him. He went on to say, he's like a guy who would have a nice store out front and sell you counterfeit stuff out of the back. This was obviously perceived as racial remarks and prejudice against Africans and Luol Deng. So we live in, again, like I said, we live in this post-Donald Sterling world where anything that can be remotely perceived as racist is blasphemy. And Danny Ferry, apparently he was punished behind closed doors with the Hawks organization. They refused to disclose the terms of that. He has taken a leave of absence. I don't think he'll be coming back from this leave of absence, at least with the Hawks. I think it will be very difficult to find a job. I think if this hadn't happened before Donald Sterling, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Because as I look at it, I don't think it was even intended, that way against Luol Deng. Kyle Korver came out and said...
No, it's just like...
Kyle Korver said, this guy's never come across racist. Donald Sterling, we all know, he was a racist long before, he was talking about Magic Johnson. And, that kind of stuff. Danny Ferry is... I don't think he's a racist. I think he made some comments that were taken the wrong way. And in the world we live in today, that's unacceptable and unforgivable. Luol Deng said he was hurt by these comments, and expressed disappointment with the Hawks organization. He actually signed with the Heat before he knew about this. Snowball, what has to happen to Danny Ferry now?
What's probably going to happen is he's going to go bye-bye from the Hawks.
Well, the Hawks, I don't think is a question.
I really don't want it to happen.
But from the NBA, how are they going to handle this?
NBA, I'm not going to say suspend him. You can't really do that as a GM. I don't know. I think he's just going to leave him on his own, to be honest. I know he's on the absence right now, but I think eventually, we'll see what happens. I think it's one of those things you wait and see what happens. If people start to hate on him, bash on him about what he said, then yeah, the NBA is going to take an action, possibly force him, tell him to resign or leave because we'll kick you out of your team. But if this doesn't turn to a big deal, it's probably good timing that this happened now.
Yeah, that's true because everything's being overshadowed by Ray Rice.
It's going with all the NFL, Goodell. If you're going to make a mistake, you do it now.
Yeah, and it's important to note this was self-reported by the Hawks.
So, yeah, exactly. So
perfect timing.
I don't see this turning into that big of a deal. Hopefully, it just goes away because people have said stuff, and, we move on. So, hopefully, Hawks move on, NBA moves on, and pretend like, hopefully, none of this ever happens.
Yeah, like I said, Donald Sterling was banished from the NBA because the NBA knew people weren't going to buy tickets from this guy. People weren't going to be wanted to associate with the Clippers. Now, you're talking the GM of the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks don't even have that many paying fans anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to affect business for the NBA. I don't expect them to step in, especially since apparently the Hawks organization have handled things behind closed doors in the first place. So I don't, like you said, I don't see this being a huge deal. I think if it wasn't for Donald Sterling, we wouldn't even be talking about this.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think Danny Ferry will be back with the Hawks. I think it'll be a very long time before he can get a job in the NBA, just because of the culture now. Not because he's a racist, because I really don't think he is, or anything like that. So, honestly, I think the guy made a mistake, chose his words wrong, and it was misinterpreted. And I kind of feel sorry for him. And I know that's going to be frowned upon, because you can't defend the guy who's alleged racist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I don't think, honestly, I'm sorry whoever was offended by this. And, I think it can be taken the wrong way, and I feel bad for those people that they took it that way. But that's not how it was intended. At least I would hope to think so. And that's really it, I hope Danny Ferry will be able to find a job. And he will be forgiven for this because, he really expressed remorse. He didn't mean it that way. And that's it. On a lighter note, like I said earlier to start the show, we are the only show that watched the WNBA finals last night.
Well, Nick does, but okay.
Yeah. Well, the Phoenix Mercury, well, let me preface this by stating, it was a rough year for my Seattle Storm. It was a rebuilding year. We went 12-22. So going into the playoffs, I was rooting for my girl Elena Del Don and the Chicago Sky. They made it all the way to the finals. They won the East. Faced the Phoenix Diana Taurasi and the Phoenix Mercury in the finals. Ended up getting swept. So the Phoenix Mercury completed the sweep last night, 87.